She was forced into marriage, but when she saw her human groom, she shook. Part 1. Valara Kethson stood by the window of her room and watched the sky. The twin suns of Nathar Prime were setting, painting the clouds in shades of purple and gold. It was beautiful, but she could not enjoy it. Not today. Not after what her uncle had told her. The door behind her opened. She did not turn around. "You have been standing there for 3 hours," said High Counselor Morthic. His voice was calm, but she could feel his worry through her empathic senses. "You need to eat something." "I am not hungry," Valara said. "Valara, please. This is not easy for any of us." She turned to face him then. Her uncle was old. His silver blue skin had faded to a pale gray over the years, and his eyes looked tired. He had served their people for 60 years. He had seen wars and plagues and disasters. But she had never seen him look as defeated as he did now. "You are giving me to them," she said. "To the humans." "I am saving our people," Morthic replied. "The Korthax burned 12 of our colonies. They destroyed our fleet. We have nothing left to fight with. Nothing. And the humans will protect us? Out of kindness?" Valara laughed, but there was no joy in it. Everyone knows what humans are. They are predators. They come from a death world where everything tries to kill everything else. They eat the flesh of other creatures. They can survive poison that would kill us in seconds. They heal from wounds that would be fatal to any other species. "Yes," Morthic said quietly. "They are all of those things. And that is exactly why we need them." Valara turned back to the window. Outside, she could see the lights of the capital city stretching to the horizon. Millions of her people lived there. Families, children, all of them counting on leaders like her uncle to keep them safe. The marriage alliance was their condition, Morthic continued. They want a bond between our people. Something real. Something permanent. You are the last daughter of House Kethson. You are the only one who can do this. And what if he hurts me? Valara asked. Her voice was small. What if he is cruel? Morthic walked to her side. He put a gentle hand on her shoulder. The human diplomats have given their word. They say Daniel Cole is a good man, kind, patient. They would say anything to complete this alliance. Perhaps. But we have no choice, Valara. If we refuse, the Korthax will finish what they started. Our entire species will be gone within a year. Valara closed her eyes. She could feel the truth of his words. She could feel his pain, his guilt, his desperate hope that this would work. Her uncle loved her. He would not do this if there was any other way. When? She asked. Their ship arrives tomorrow morning. That night, Valara could not sleep. She lay in her bed and stared at the ceiling, thinking about everything she had heard about humans. They called Earth a death world because the conditions there were extreme. The gravity was heavy. The weather was violent. The planet was filled with predators, poisons, and diseases. Most species that evolved on such worlds became monsters. But humans were different. They became something worse, that they became survivors. Valara had read the reports. Humans could run for hours without stopping. They could track prey across entire continents. They healed from injuries that would kill other species. They could eat plants and animals that were toxic to everyone else. They kept going when any sensible creature would give up and die, and their history was full of violence. Wars that killed millions of their own kind. Weapons that could destroy entire cities. They had split the atom and used it to burn each other. They had invented 1,000 ways to cause death, and they had used all of them. The galaxy called them many names. The endurance. The persistent. The ones who do not stop. Some species called them something simpler. The monsters from Soldot, and now she was going to marry one. Morning came too quickly. Valara dressed in the formal robes of House Kethson. silver and blue silk that flowed like water. A servant braided her long white hair and placed a circlet of crystal on her head. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw a stranger. "You look beautiful," her handmaiden said. Valara did not respond. The landing platform was on the highest tower of the palace. Valara stood there with her uncle and a dozen guards, watching the sky. The wind was cold, but she barely felt it. Her whole body was numb. Then she saw it. A dark shape descending through the clouds. The human ship. It was not like Selvari vessels, which were elegant and curved. The human ship was angular, blocky, built for function rather than beauty. It looked like a weapon. The ship landed with a heavy thud that shook the platform. Steam hissed from its engines. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the door opened. Valara's hearts were beating so fast she thought they might burst. Her hands were shaking. She tried to control it, tried to look calm and dignified, but her body would not obey. Figures emerged from the ship. They were tall, so tall. They moved with a confidence that spoke of strength, of power, of danger. And then one of them stepped forward from the group. He was the tallest of them all. His skin was a warm brown color, and his hair was dark and short. He wore simple clothes, not armor, not weapons, just plain dark fabric. But it was his eyes that made Valara freeze. They were looking right at her. Brown eyes, soft and warm, filled with something she did not expect. Concerned. He had seen her shaking. He had noticed her fear. And instead of pride or amusement or hunger, his face showed only worry. For her, Valara did not understand. This was not how a predator looked at prey. This was not how a monster looked at a victim. The human took one step toward her, then stopped. He did not come closer. He just stood there, waiting, giving her space. And Valara realized that everything she thought she knew about humans might be wrong. She was forced into marriage, but when she saw her human groom, she shook. Part 2. The human had not moved. He stood at the edge of the landing platform, keeping his distance, watching Valara with those strange soft eyes. The wind blew his dark hair, but he did not seem to notice. His entire attention was on her. High Counselor Morthic stepped forward to greet the delegation. "Welcome to Nethara Prime," he said, his voice formal and steady. "We are honored by your presence." A human woman stepped up beside the tall man. She had light brown hair and a kind face. "Thank you, Counselor. I am Amy Warren, medical officer and translator for this delegation. And this is Daniel Cole, your future ally." The tall man, Daniel, gave a small nod. He still had not taken his eyes off Valara. "Perhaps we should move to the reception hall," Morthic suggested. "The wind is cold, and we have prepared refreshments." "Of course," Amy said. She touched Daniel's arm gently. "Dan?" Daniel blinked. "Yes, sorry." His voice was deeper than Valara expected, but quiet, gentle. "Please, lead the way." The reception hall was warm and filled with soft light. Selvari nobles lined the walls, watching the humans with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Guards stood at every door, their hands near their weapons. Valara walked beside her uncle, trying to keep her breathing steady. She could feel Daniel walking behind her. She could hear his footsteps, heavier than any Selvari. The sound reminded her of what he was, what his species was: a predator, a survivor, a creature from a death world. When they reached the center of the hall, Morthic turned to face the humans. "According to our traditions, the bride and groom must meet formally before the wedding. They must speak to each other and confirm their willingness to proceed." Daniel nodded. "I understand." He stepped forward, and Valara felt her whole body tense. He was so close now. She could see the details of his face, the small lines around his eyes, the slight stubble on his jaw. His skin looked rough compared to Selvari skin. Stronger, thicker. She started to shake again. She could not stop it. Daniel noticed immediately. His expression changed, and something like pain flickered across his face. He stopped moving. Then, slowly, carefully, he lowered himself down onto one knee. The Silvari nobles gasped. Valara stared at him, confused. On his knee, Daniel was almost at her eye level. He looked up at her with those warm brown eyes and spoke softly. "My name is Daniel Cole," he said. "I am from a city called Portland, on a continent called North America, on a planet called Earth. I know you are afraid of me. I know my people have a reputation that is not good. And I know you did not choose this." Valara said nothing. She could not find words. "I want you to know something," Daniel continued. "I will never hurt you. I will never force you to do anything. If you need time, I will wait. If you need space, I will give it. And if you decide that you cannot do this, I will respect that too. You would break the alliance?" Valara whispered. "I would find another way," Daniel said. "Your safety and your happiness matter more than politics. That is what I believe." Valara used her empathic abilities without thinking. She reached out to feel his emotions, expecting to find lies hidden beneath pretty words. Humans were supposed to be clever, deceitful, dangerous, but what she found was different. She felt sincerity, deep and pure. She felt concern for her. She felt loneliness, old and heavy, like a wound that had never fully healed. And beneath it all, she felt hope. A small, fragile hope that maybe this would work out. That maybe he would not be alone anymore. There was no cruelty, no hunger, no predator's instinct, just a man who was trying his best. Valara did not know what to say. Her whole understanding of humans was falling apart. I need time. She finally managed. Daniel nodded. "Take all the time you need." He stood up slowly, still moving carefully, still making sure not to startle her. "I will be on the ship if you want to talk. Or Amy can answer any questions you have. Whatever makes you comfortable." He turned and walked back to his delegation. Amy gave Valara a gentle smile before following him. The nobles started whispering. Morthic leaned close to Valara. "That was unexpected," he murmured. "He showed you respect. Real respect." "I do not understand," Valara said. "He is supposed to be a predator. Perhaps humans are more complicated than we thought." That evening, Valara walked alone in the palace garden. The flowers were blooming, filling the air with sweet perfume. But she barely noticed. Her mind was too full of questions. She found a bench near a fountain and sat down. The sound of water was soothing, but it did not calm her racing thoughts. "May I join you?" Valara looked up. Daniel was standing at the edge of the garden, keeping his distance again. He had changed into simpler clothes, and his hands were in his pockets. "How did you find me?" she asked. "I did not mean to. I was just walking. Your palace is beautiful, and I wanted to see the gardens. I can leave if you prefer." Valara thought about it. Her fear was still there, but it was smaller now. Curiosity was starting to take its place. "You may stay," she said. Daniel walked over slowly and sat on the other end of the bench, leaving plenty of space between them. For a while, neither of them spoke. "You are not what I expected," Valara finally said. "What did you expect?" "A monster. A brutal creature who would take what he wanted without caring about my feelings." Daniel was quiet for a moment. "On Earth, we have a saying. We say that the measure of a person is not their strength, but how they treat those who are weaker than them. And how do humans treat those who are weaker? Some badly. We are not perfect. Our history is full of mistakes. But many of us try to protect the weak, to help those who need help." He paused. "That is what I want to do. Protect people. Including you." Valara looked at him carefully. In the soft light of the garden, He did not look like a monster. He looked tired, lonely, human. "Tell me about yourself," she said, and Daniel smiled. A small, surprised smile, as if he had not expected her to ask Dodd. He started to talk. She was forced into marriage, but when she saw her human groom, she shook. Part 3. The days passed quickly. Valara found herself spending more and more time with Daniel, and each day her fear grew smaller. He told her about Earth. He described the blue oceans that covered most of the planet. He talked about forests so thick that sunlight could not reach the ground, and deserts so hot that water disappeared before it could touch the sand. He told her about mountains that touched the clouds and storms that could destroy entire cities. "Your world sounds terrifying," Valara said one afternoon. They were sitting in the garden again, their usual meeting place. "It is," Daniel admitted, "but it is also beautiful. There is nowhere else like it. And it made us who we are, survivors," Valara said. "Yes, but also dreamers. We looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. We built ships to find out. We traveled across the galaxy because we wanted to know what lay beyond the next horizon." Valara tilted her head. "Most species say humans explored the stars because you were running out of room on Earth." Daniel laughed. It was a warm sound, and Valara found that she liked hearing it. "That is also true. We are not good at staying in one place. We get restless. We want to see new things, meet new people, learn new ideas, and conquer new worlds?" The question came out before Valara could stop it. She saw the smile fade from Daniel's face, and she felt his emotions shift through her empathic senses. Pain, shame, regret. "Some of us did," he said quietly. "Our history is not kind. We fought each other for thousands of years. We hurt each other in terrible ways. And when we reached the stars, some humans continued those old patterns. But not all? No, not all." Daniel looked at her. "Many of us learned from those mistakes. We looked at what we had done and felt ashamed. We decided to be better, to protect instead of destroy, to help instead of hurt." Valara could feel the truth of his words. There was no deception in him, only a deep desire to prove that humans could be good. "I would like to see your ship," she said suddenly. Daniel looked surprised. "Really?" "Yes, I want to understand your people better. I want to see how you live." The human ship was different from anything Valara had ever seen. The hulls were narrow and functional. The walls were made of metal instead of crystal. Everything was designed for efficiency, not beauty. But the people inside were not what she expected. Amy Warren met them at the entrance and gave Valara a warm smile. "Welcome aboard. Let me show you around." They walked through the ship together. Valara saw crew members working at their stations, talking and laughing with each other. They were loud. They touched each other casually, patting shoulders, shaking hands, giving hugs. Physical contact seemed natural to them. "Humans are very social," Valara observed. "We are," Amy agreed. "We are pack creatures at heart. We need each other. Being alone is painful for most of us." She led Valara to the medical bay. It was small, but filled with advanced equipment. Valara looked at the strange machines and tried to understand what they were for. "This is where I work," Amy said. "I fix people when they get hurt. Daniel told me that humans heal quickly. We do. Faster than most species. But we still get hurt. We still feel pain." Amy paused. "Valara, can I tell you something about my brother?" "Daniel is your brother?" "Yes, we have different fathers, but we grew up together." Amy's expression became serious. "When Daniel was young, our parents died in an accident. A ship malfunctioned on a colony world. Daniel was only 12 years old. He had to take care of me. He was just a child, but he worked and studied and made sure I had food and shelter and education." Valara felt her heart tighten. That must have been very hard. It was. But Daniel never complained. He just kept going. He protected me, no matter what. That is who he is. That is what he does. Amy looked at Valara with serious eyes. He is not a monster, Valara. He is the best person I know. And if you let him, he will protect you with his life. That night, Valara could not sleep again. But this time, it was not fear keeping her awake. It was something else. Something warm and strange. She thought about Daniel's smile. The way he laughed. The stories he told about Earth. The pain in his eyes when he talked about his past. The gentleness in his voice when he spoke to her. She thought about what Amy had said. About a young boy who lost everything but still kept going. Who raised his sister alone. Who chose kindness despite having every reason to be bitter. Humans were not monsters. They were survivors. And somewhere along the way, some of them had learned that survival meant more than just staying alive. It meant protecting others. Caring for others. Loving others. The next morning, Valara went to find Daniel. He was in the garden, sitting on their usual bench, looking at the flowers. "You came," he said, sounding slightly surprised. "I have been thinking," Valara said. She sat down beside him, closer than she ever had before. "About you. About your people. About this marriage. And what have you decided?" Valara took a deep breath. "I have decided that I want to try. Not because of the alliance. Not because my uncle told me to. But because I want to know you better. I want to understand you." Daniel's eyes widened. "Truly?" "Truly." Valara reached out and, for the first time, touched his hand. His skin was warm against hers. Rough but gentle. "I am still afraid. But I am also curious. And I think you might be worth knowing." Daniel turned his hand over and held hers carefully, like she was something precious. "Thank you," he said softly. "I will do everything I can to deserve that trust." And Valara believed him. She was forced into marriage, but when she saw her human groom, she shook. Part 4. The wedding was set for 3 days later. The whole palace was busy with preparations. Servants decorated the great hall with flowers and crystals. Tailors worked on ceremonial robes. Cooks prepared a feast that would feed hundreds of guests. Valara should have been nervous. Instead, she felt something close to happiness. She spent every day with Daniel. They talked for hours about their lives, their dreams, their fears. She learned that he loved to read old books about philosophy and history. She learned that he played an instrument called a guitar. She learned that he missed the rain on Earth, the way it smelled. The sound it made on rooftops. And she learned that he had never wanted to be alone. "I always thought I would spend my life by myself," Daniel told her one evening. "After our parents died, I focused on taking care of Amy, then on my studies, then on my career. I never had time for anything else. And now?" Valara asked. Daniel looked at her with those warm brown eyes. "Now I think maybe I was waiting. For the right person." Valara felt her heart beat faster. She did not have words for what she was feeling. It was new and strange and wonderful, but not everyone was happy about the alliance. Commander Voss had served in the Selvari military for 40 years. He had fought in 3 wars. He had lost friends, soldiers, and family to their enemies. And he did not trust humans. "They are predators," he said to his officers that same night. They met in secret, in a room deep beneath the palace. They come from a death world. Their history is nothing but violence and conquest. Do you really believe they want peace? "The treaty has been signed," one officer said nervously. "Treaties can be broken." Voss paced back and forth. "Today they offer protection. Tomorrow they will ask for military bases. Then for resources. Then for territory. And one day, we will wake up and realize we are slaves in our own home. What do you suggest we do? Voss stopped pacing. His eyes were cold and hard. We end this before it begins. The human groom dies tonight. We blame it on Korthak's assassins. The alliance collapses, and we find another way to survive. That is treason. That is patriotism. Voss looked at his officers one by one. Are you with me? They were. Valara could not sleep that night. The excitement of the coming wedding kept her awake. She decided to take a walk through the palace, hoping the quiet would calm her mind. She was passing the old council chambers when she heard voices. The door was slightly open, and light spilled into the hallway. The human is in the East Garden, someone said. He walks there every night before sleeping. We wait until he is alone, then we strike. Valara froze. She knew that voice. Commander Voss, what about the princess? Another voice asked. She is a traitor who sold herself to predators. She will be dealt with after. Valara's blood turned to ice. She stepped back, trying to be silent, but her foot caught on a loose stone. She stumbled, and the noise echoed through the empty hall. The door burst open. Soldiers rushed out and grabbed her before she could run. Voss walked out slowly. He looked at Valara with disappointment and contempt. Princess, I hoped you would not get involved in this. You cannot do this, Valara said. The Alliance will protect our people. The humans are not our enemies. The humans are everyone's enemies. They just hide it well. Voss nodded to his soldiers. Take her to the storage room. Keep her there until this is over. They dragged Valara through dark corridors and threw her into a small room filled with old supplies. The door slammed shut, and she heard a lock click into place. She pounded on the door. She screamed for help, but no one came. Daniel walked through the East Garden, enjoying the cool night air. The twin moons were bright, and the flowers glowed softly in their light. It was peaceful here, quiet. He thought about Valara, about her laugh, her curiosity, her courage. She had been so afraid at first, and he could not blame her. His people had a terrible reputation, but she had looked past that. She had seen him for who he really was. He smiled. For the first time in years, he felt hopeful. Then he heard a sound. Footsteps. Many footsteps. Approaching from all directions. Daniel stopped walking. His instincts, the ones bred into humans over millions of years of evolution, snapped awake. He was not alone. And whoever was coming was not friendly. He turned just as the first soldier emerged from the shadows. Human, Commander Voss said, stepping into the moonlight with a weapon in his hand. You should not have come here. Daniel looked around. He counted 12 soldiers, all armed. The situation was bad. But worse than that, he realized something was missing. Valara had not met him tonight. She always came to say goodnight. Something was wrong. Where is she? Daniel asked. His voice was calm, but there was steel beneath it. Where is Valara? Voss smiled coldly. She is safe for now, and she will stay safe as long as you cooperate. What do you want? I want you to leave. Get on your ship and go back to Earth. Tell your leaders that the alliance is over. Daniel was silent for a moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was different now. Harder, more dangerous. No, Voss blinked. No, you do not seem to understand your situation, human. You are surrounded. One command from me, and my soldiers will shoot you down. Then give the command. The soldiers shifted nervously. There was something in the human's eyes now. Something primal. Something that remembered hunting in the dark, running through endless forests, fighting to survive against impossible odds. Something that was not afraid. You cannot kill me, Daniel said softly. Not quickly enough. And even if you do, my people will come. They will find out what happened here. And they will not forgive. Is that a threat? It is a fact. Daniel took a step forward. The soldiers raised their weapons. He did not stop. Now, I am going to ask you one more time. Where's Valara? Voss raised his weapon and fired. She was forced into marriage, but when she saw her human groom, she shook. Part 5. The shot hit Daniel in the shoulder. He staggered back but did not fall. Voss stared in disbelief. That should have dropped you. Daniel looked at his wound. Blood soaked his shirt, dark and red. The pain was terrible. But pain was an old friend. Humans had lived with pain for millions of years. They had learned to push through it, to keep moving, to refuse to stop. Humans are hard to kill, Daniel said through gritted teeth. You should have studied us better. He moved faster than Voss expected. In 3 steps, Daniel crossed the distance between them. His good arm caught Voss by the wrist and twisted. The weapon fell to the ground. Then Daniel's fist connected with the commander's face, and Voss dropped like a stone. The soldiers opened fire. Daniel dove behind a stone pillar. Shots exploded around him, breaking pieces of rock and tearing through leaves. He was bleeding badly. He was outnumbered. He had no weapon, but he had something more important. He had a reason to fight. Valara was somewhere in this palace, captured and afraid. And he was not going to let her down. Daniel waited for a pause in the firing, then moved. He ran low and fast, using the garden's pillars and statues for cover. A shot grazed his leg. Another missed his head by inches. But he kept moving. He reached the first soldier and struck hard. The man went down. Daniel took his weapon and fired at the others, not to kill, but to scatter them. In the chaos. He ran. Valara heard the distant sounds of weapons fire. She pounded on the door again, screaming for help. Her voice was raw, but she did not stop. Then she felt something through her empathic senses. A presence, familiar and warm, coming closer. Daniel. But there was pain too. So much pain. He was hurt. Badly. The lock on the door exploded. Valara jumped back as the door swung open, and Daniel stumbled into the room. He was covered in blood. His shoulder was a mess of torn flesh. His face was pale and sweating, but his eyes found hers, and he managed a weak smile. Found you, he said. Then he collapsed. Valara caught him before he hit the ground. His weight was heavy, but she held on. She dragged him away from the door and pressed her hands against his wound, trying to stop the bleeding. Stay with me, she begged. Please, Daniel. Stay with me. His eyes fluttered open. I told you. Humans are hard to kill. Do not joke. You are dying. Not dying. Just hurt. He winced as she applied more pressure. Your commander really does not like me. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Valara looked up, expecting soldiers. Instead, she saw Amy Warren leading a group of humans, all of them armed and ready. Daniel. Amy rushed to her brother's side. She pulled out medical supplies and went to work immediately. What happened? Voss tried to kill me. Cancel the alliance. Daniel coughed. I disagreed. Amy shook her head, but kept working. You never do anything the easy way. High Counselor Morthic arrived minutes later with palace guards. The conspiracy was exposed. Voss and his soldiers were arrested. The whole palace was in chaos, but Valara stayed at Daniel's side. The human medics worked through the night. They removed the fragments from his shoulder, repaired the damaged tissue, and gave him medicines that Valara had never seen before. By morning, he was stable. He will recover, Amy told Valara. They were standing outside the medical room on the human ship. Human healing is remarkable. He will need a few days, but he will be fine. Valara felt tears running down her face. She did not bother to wipe them away. He almost died for me. That is what he does. He protects people. He always has. Valara looked through the window at Daniel, sleeping peacefully on the medical bed. This man from a death world. This predator. This monster. No, not a monster. Never a monster. A guardian. 3 days later, Daniel was on his feet again. He still moved slowly, and his shoulder was bandaged, but he insisted on attending the meeting with High Counselor Morthic. Commander Voss will be tried for treason, Morthic said. His conspiracy has been completely dismantled. The alliance remains strong. Daniel nodded. I am glad. Your people deserve protection. Morthic looked at his niece, who stood beside Daniel. Valara, given everything that has happened, I will not force you to continue with the wedding. You have been through enough. If you want to end this arrangement, I will find another way. Valara was quiet for a moment. Then she reached out and took Daniel's hand. I do not want to end it, she said. Daniel looked at her with surprise and hope. Valara, you almost died for me. Her voice trembled with emotion. You walked through fire to find me. You fought an army while bleeding. Not because of politics. Not because of treaties. But because you cared. She squeezed his hand. I am not marrying you for an alliance, Daniel. I am marrying you because I choose to. Because you are worth choosing. The wedding was held that evening, under the twin moons of Nathar Prime. Valara wore a gown of silver and white, threaded with crystals that caught the moonlight. Daniel wore a simple dark suit, his wounded arm still bandaged but hidden beneath the fabric. The ceremony was small. Just family and close friends. Humans and Selvari standing together, watching as two people from different worlds joined their lives. When the officiant asked if they accepted each other, Daniel spoke first. I accept you, Valara Kethson. Not as a treaty, not as a duty, but as my partner, my equal, my love. Valara felt her heart soar. And I accept you, Daniel Cole, my protector, my surprise, my choice. They joined hands. The crowd cheered. And when Daniel leaned down to kiss her, gently and carefully, Valara felt herself shaking. But it was not fear this time. It was joy. Later, they stood together on the balcony, looking up at the stars. The galaxy stretched out before them, vast and full of wonders. I used to think humans were the galaxy's greatest threat, Valara said softly. And now? Daniel asked. She leaned against him, feeling his warmth, his strength, his gentle heart. Now I know you are its greatest hope. Daniel smiled and put his arm around her. We just protect what we love. And now you are part of that. Valara looked up at him. This man from Earth, this survivor of a death world, this human who had chosen kindness over cruelty, protection over conquest, love over loneliness. She was not afraid anymore. She was home. The end.